I love studying in Indianapolis because as soon as you walk outside of campus, there are tons of businesses and opportunities that you wouldn't get at any other IU campus. Having the IU name attached to our campus in a different way just furthers that connection. Anywhere you go, you talk to somebody, they're going to know IU.
As a premier public urban research university, we are committed to meaningful change that serves our city, state, and region. We educate the talent that our region needs, and we promote innovation that makes a transformative difference in Indianapolis and beyond.
The evolution of Indiana University, Indianapolis, 2 years after becoming an independent campus. I talk with the woman leading IU Indy, Chancellor Latha Ramchand, on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. And I'm pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by the Chancellor, the inaugural Chancellor at Indiana University, Indianapolis, Latha Ramchand. And Chancellor, really appreciate you taking the time to join me. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for inviting me. Really appreciate being here.
Yeah, as we were talking before we started taping, and actually as we were taping on this day, 2 years ago, on the day when IU and Purdue officially became separate campuses here in Indianapolis, to me, it doesn't seem like it's been 2 years. How's the transformation gone for you?
It certainly feels like a whirlwind, and so many things have happened, and the momentum is palpable. So I totally agree with you. I cannot believe it's been 2 years since I came here. And it reminded myself this morning that it is our second anniversary, our second birthday, really, as IU Indianapolis. We're just a toddler at this point. And boy, there has been a lot that has been achieved in those 2 years.
Give us an idea. I'm sure you could talk for a long time about everything that's been going on there on campus, but give us an idea of the activity, the things that have been going on during this really monumental transition.
Yeah, so perhaps the best way to describe it, I think, would be, I think about, what is Indianapolis known for in the world, across the globe? People identify us with Indy 500. And there is that sense of speed that is associated with that. And I would say it is speed for us, but it's really agility to make decisions, agility to really move us from being an institution where we say we're doing research and nobody knows what that research is, to saying, hey, the research we do has implications for people with pancreatic cancer. If you are getting a biopsy, we have someone who's actually not just written a paper on it, but who's actually come up with a tool that will improve the process by which the biopsy is done, reduce the false positives, and improve the accuracy. Take another example in a totally different domain. You're thinking about, how do you design healthcare for your employees? What's the best way to design healthcare if you're an employer? You have a faculty member who's come up with a plan that shows, should you front load on primary care versus the specialized care? And they've come up with ideas for that. So I would say taking what we do on a campus and moving it into people's lives with application has become a core for us, and we are beginning to be recognized for that. Recently, there was something called the CURE Index, CURE, where they looked at about 200 plus universities across the nation, the best universities that you can think of. And they looked at a smaller group within that were titled universities punching above their weight, universities that are able to take research and move it into the marketplace in the form of innovations. And we were number one on that list.
Yeah.
This year, we have not just one, 2 Guggenheim Fellows. Receiving a Guggenheim, if you apply for it, the probability is less than 5%, not considering those who don't even apply for it, in which case the probability would be minuscule. And it's really hard to get one of these. We've never received one of these. And this year we received 2, not just 1. So you can see that momentum actually translating into real impact. That's not just about us, it's about the community we serve. And perhaps the best indication to me that this is sticking is that the enrollment, our students are voting with their feet and saying, we want to come here. Over the last 2 years, our freshman class has grown by 20%. And this year, the numbers look even stronger. We don't have enough beds on campus, so we're building more beds, which is a great thing. And so, real momentum. And everything we do is about from Indiana for Indiana. 88% of our freshmen are Hoosiers. Close to 90% of them will live and work here after they graduate. And we are proud of that and don't intend to change that.
Yeah, I want to talk about a number of the major projects underway, the physical changes on the campus. But how important, especially as you're recruiting students and you're talking about increased enrollment, is the identity, is creating that brand identity that it's not IUPUI anymore, it's Indiana University, Indianapolis. How important is that, or what kinds of things have been done to kind of get at that issue?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And as you know, that identity is extremely important. And what we're hearing from our students, so we want to make sure that this identity is not just informed by what the chancellor thinks, but it's really coming from what I would call the consumers of our product, which are students and the industry we serve. And what they're telling us is that we're coming to your campus, to your university, because of the city of Indianapolis. This city, this region offers tremendous opportunities for growth and development. And we want to be part of an institution that will be a connector between the learner and the industry and the community that needs that talent. Indianapolis is a big, big part of our brand, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that even when students get admitted, when they come on campus for the first time, we want to give them a tour of the city. We want them to understand that we are in a city where two big industries that everyone loves, right? Everything related to health, bioscience, life science, health science is right here in our backyard. The other industry which everyone loves is sports. And we are all about these two industries, grooming the talent that these two industries need, which I think is really our brand. And that's what we are promoting.
As you look at Indiana and Indianapolis's push to become a bioscience hub, really a global center, I think based on your last answer, you really feel that IU Indianapolis can be a key part of that effort to create this global center for the biosciences.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's the whole value chain. It's not just manufacturing, but it's also research. We have so many students interested in doing research as undergraduates, as freshmen in their first semester. And our challenge is to make sure that we connect every one of them to opportunities that industry has so that by the time they graduate, industry doesn't have to go elsewhere to look for talent. They have it right here in their backyard. And this is good talent, whether it's chemistry, whether it's physics, whether it's biology, and see it in our numbers. Our direct science to MD program. You get into the School of Science, you get a degree, and then you're directly admitted to the School of Medicine. We had 25 slots last year available. We had 467 applications.
Wow.
We just introduced a similar program with dentistry, and that again has been oversubscribed 2.5 times. Our nursing programs have grown by 30%. We're seeing real momentum in that health space.
As you look at and you mentioned the connection to Indianapolis, the connection to the business community, how important is that? And I know increasingly, certainly students are looking for that experiential learning, that hands-on learning, that connection, be it internships or other real-life experiences. How important is that connection to the business community for IU Indianapolis?
It is so critical. As I often say, it's not about us, it's about the community and the industry we serve. Academia would not exist but for the fact that the talent that we graduate is valued by the communities we serve. So, connecting our students as interns through internships, through co ops, we're working really hard to make sure that every student has that opportunity. In fact, our Office for Community Engagement now includes workforce development as well. We've rebranded that to say it's the Office of Workforce and Community Engagement. And our goal is that every student should have had at least one internship, at least one, before they graduate. And by the time they graduate, or within 6 months of graduation, they should have a job that they are excited about. I think that is absolutely critical. And we're seeing that happen. We're seeing those connections happen because we're reaching out to industry partners. It's not just the big names, it's every small, medium, every business in Indiana deserves a conversation with us where we say, help us understand what your needs are. What are the talent needs you have? Maybe it's an intern, maybe it's not an intern. Maybe you need to upskill your employees. Maybe they don't need a degree. That's fine. We're here to serve learners of every kind. And through that, our students will, of course, benefit. Now, to industry, the benefit is you sample the product. Give them an internship, give our student an internship, see how they perform, see if they have the work ethic, see if they're the last person to leave the office. And if they don't, come back and tell us what you don't see so we can take it back into our curriculum. And so those are the conversations we're having with industry partners, and it is exciting to see the response that we are receiving.
And physically, the campus is changing in a big way. Some major capital projects are underway. The Medical Education and Research Building, which I think opened last year, the STEM Lab Building, the James T. Morris, the gym, the arena, the new arena on campus, IU Lab, which is at 16 Tech, and just an amazing project that will have long-term ramifications. Give us an idea of what you're creating there physically in terms of buildings on the campus.
Yeah, so absolutely. You're absolutely right that this is a campus that's expanding its footprint, and our footprint was large to begin with, right? We're a big campus. So to expand that to include everything that you mentioned, there's over $1 billion in construction projects happening between the medical education and research building and the STEM lab and IU lab, and of course the James T. Morris Arena. It's all again geared towards serving the needs of Indiana, right? IU Lab, STEM Lab, the Medical Education and Research Building, all those tie into our responsibility to serve the workforce needs of the bioscience, life science, health science industry. And we have the whole value chain here, right? You have people who can major in biology, you have people who can focus on nursing, you have dentistry, you have public health, you have OT, PT, the whole range of health related degrees and certifications are offered on this campus. So, our focus is to grow that and to make sure that we serve the healthcare needs of Indiana through these programs. The other side, of course, as you said, is sports. And the James T. Morris Arena will be, in my mind, it's more than a building, it's more than an edifice. It truly represents an iconic leader whose values are what we are trying to emulate and put into our university. I often think about this as if we could graduate students who have that Jim Morris mindset. Think big, think of every opportunity in its biggest context, bring people together and help them understand and dialogue across differences. I think that would be the best way to honor his memory, his legacy. So to me, that James T. Morris Arena is, yes, it's a building and it's beautiful, but through that, there is an inner beauty in terms of the values that he espoused that I'm hoping that we can give to our graduates.
Yeah. You mentioned this earlier, but housing on campus. The Board of Trustees approved a project to build a new residence hall for IU Indianapolis, I think 450 beds or so to expand the housing capacity, again, in response to demand. So talk about housing, because I think IUPUI over the many years was more of a, I guess you'd call it kind of a commuter campus, but this kind of a different focus.
Yes, again, a good question and very relevant today. Our students are telling us they want to live on campus. We currently have about 2,500 beds, but that's not going to be enough to accommodate the needs of our growing student body. So that's the reason this additional capacity, which honestly I think is just the first of a series to come, because as the campus grows, we're seeing a real need to engage with students who want to live on campus because the campus experience is quite different when you live outside. No one's being forced to do that. But if you live on campus, you're more likely to engage with athletics. You're more likely to engage in student organizations. And students appreciate that. They want more of that. So that tells you that there is demand for the experiences we're offering on this campus because students want to stay here for a longer period of time, even during the day. Even the commuter students are telling us, can you create experiences that will keep us engaged through the day so that we don't have to leave the campus right after classes end? That's a real testament to some of the activities that our faculty and staff have created to improve student engagement. And ultimately, I think the biggest beneficiary of that is going to be the city. Because as you know, there is really no division. There's no wall between us and the city. Our curriculum, our learning environment is the city. So when we get more students here, they're going to go out into Mass Avenue. They're going to go out and spend their discretionary dollars within this city area. And that's going to benefit businesses around the area. It's really going to have an impact that goes beyond the realms of our campus.
Yeah, and you touched on this earlier as well, but to that point, as you look at the vibrancy you're wanting to create on campus, connecting that to what's happening in downtown Indianapolis, I don't know what the number is now, but it's at least 2 billion, if not more, in terms of projects that are underway or on the drawing board from the Elanco project, things in downtown Indianapolis Circle Center, the Fieldhouse area. You go on up to 16 Tech, but there's a direct connection there. How important is all of that to this overall vision?
I think it's critical. Like I said, students are coming here because of the city, right? Because of what the city offers. And I'm not just saying this to you just because we're talking like this today, but this is what our students tell us. We want to be in Indianapolis. It's close enough to Chicago, but the weather's not as bad as Chicago, okay? And we hear this a lot from students coming from out of state, some of them even coming from outside the country. But there are students who live here who are like, this is home to me. I don't want to leave this region. But unless I'm here on this campus, they feel like their connections to industry are not as tight as they can be. And that's the reason they're coming here. So this relationship between our campus and the city and the businesses and the industry here is a very symbiotic relationship. When we grow, they grow. When they grow, we grow. And I think we really need to work together as we are to make sure that we support each other in this development.
How about the relationship with Purdue? Separate campuses, Purdue with a smaller footprint, if you will, but with locations I know around Indianapolis. What's the relationship with Purdue? Is there a working relationship? Is that important?
Yes, and you are so right in that relationship is important. And I say this because if you think about it, what do universities do, right? Ideally, we create solutions to some of the what is it, the most wicked problems that we all face, whether it's health related to technology. And when it comes to creating solutions to those kinds of problems, no group has full ownership of that. And we're all better off if we can partner with researchers, with others that may be at Purdue, that may be at Ball State, that might be in California. So when faculty work together, they're looking for the best connection that they can get to pursue their research, which leads to solutions for society. And so when it comes to that, Purdue is a great institution, an institution that is known for its programs. And so we work with them. In fact, I take a walk around lunchtime around campus, and often I will run into students or faculty who will wave and come say a word, just talk to me. And a lot of the time it's Purdue faculty or it's a student from Purdue. And our goal is to support learners. Our goal is to support people who are curious, who want to do research, who want to find solutions. And when it comes to that, we're all totally aligned. In addition, I want to say that we had a partnership with them. It was a family. IUPUI was a family. So those relationships are never going away, right? Even if the institution name looks different today and you see a black and gold and you see a red sign, that doesn't mean that we are different. We are any different today. That's something that is really interesting to watch and to observe on this campus. And I've begun to so respect the faculty relationships. I have great friendships with people at Purdue, David Umulus, Michael Klein. We meet often. It's just it's a good relation. It's a good working relationship.
What's the potential in your view here when you think about this combination of a world-class city that's growing, world-class institution like Indiana University, Purdue's world-class status as well? When you think about what this can become in 5 years, 10 years down the road, how substantial do you think the impact can be?
A great question. I think it can be very significant because both institutions have strong brands, right? IU has a strong brand, Purdue has a strong brand. And I think working together, we need to look for those overlaps where the combination then becomes what is it? The whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. And I think there are absolutely opportunities to do that. In fact, I've always told David Umulus, who's at Purdue, that 5, 10 years from now, if you look at research that's happening, I'm sure there will be more research collaborations across our institutions than there were in the past. I really do believe that. So that's one thing. The second thing I would say is the competition never hurts, right? So may the best players win. That would be my approach to that. We can learn from them. We can learn from best practices that they incorporate. So that's another thing. And then from the perspective of the community, the industry, and perhaps even the state, one thing that I'm sure as taxpayers you're thinking about is we want to make sure that programs are not duplicated, that we're not all doing the same thing and spending the same resources. So these would be the three things that I think we all need to keep in mind as we work together. But I really believe there are huge opportunities to partner with them.
Much more ahead with IU Indianapolis Chancellor Latha Ramchand. We'll talk about her path to Indianapolis and what's next as well. That's when the Business and Beyond podcast returns. Stay with us.
As a bank, PNC prides itself on being boring. But the truth is they couldn't be more excited to serve the dynamic Indianapolis community. For nearly 160 years, they've quietly toiled away to deliver brilliant results for their equally brilliant clients. They have dedicated PNC teams throughout the local area all ready to do the boring work to help you unlock your own brilliance. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. PNC Bank, National Association member FDIC.
We build Indiana. The Laborers International Union of North America are men and women building roads and bridges to get Hoosiers where they're going today and a new energy infrastructure that will keep Indiana competitive tomorrow. LIUNA's over 12,000 statewide members also grow local economies, earning good union wages, shopping where they live and work, and paying taxes. We build Indiana for good jobs and stronger communities. The Laborers International Union of North America. We are LIUNA.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Indiana University Indianapolis Chancellor, the inaugural Chancellor at IU Indianapolis, Latha Ramchand. And Chancellor, you have an interesting background. You grew up in India, right?
Yes.
Yeah, talk about that. And I think you got your undergraduate degree in India. Talk about growing up in India and what that experience was like and how that has really shaped who you are today.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. Yes, I was born and raised in India, and my parents didn't go to college, so I'm first gen. But it was a faculty member, a teacher in school that inspired me to go to college. And while I was in college, another faculty member, I'll never forget, I was majoring in economics, and we had to also choose two minors. You had a major and two minors. And so my minors were history and political science. And he taught us history, and he always mentioned, after you get your degree, you should go get a PhD in America, as he called it. And he would say this a lot, and he would tell me, you should consider that. I had no idea what it meant. But as soon as I graduated, that was like, it was a goal. So I came here, went to school, and then worked in a bank. My PhD is in finance from Northwestern University. And then there was a little bit of banking experience. I loved numbers, and then got into academia. But but I guess the way I was raised, still, in fact, today's my dad is deceased, but today is his birthday. So I was just writing my morning pages and reminding myself that, what are some of the values he stood for? An appreciation for people was really what defined my childhood. It didn't matter who they were, where they came from. if we could help them, if we could serve them a meal, our doors were always open. And that's the mindset I bring to work as I serve my students. Yeah.
Yeah, and that student success, I know I've been reading a little background, that student success is kind of your North Star when you look at your vision, your philosophy for leading a university.
Yes, absolutely. Because if the students weren't here, we wouldn't have jobs here. There's no need for a chancellor. It's that learner who comes here trusting us to transform their lives, to give them something that they didn't have before they came here. And it's a responsibility we take seriously. So,
Yeah. Moving to the United States, as you mentioned, a professor encouraged you to do that. But still, that's a big, moving to the US is a big leap. Was that a big adjustment? What was that process like?
yes, it was. It was a big adjustment. But I was probably one of those geeky people that was just so focused on getting my degree that nothing else mattered to me. It was all about there's a goal, you need to attain the goal. And I had a lot of support though on the way. My family was supportive, my husband extremely supportive of everything I do. So what I learned in during those years, especially after coming into academia as a faculty member and then dean and so on, was we make a huge difference, right? The reason I came to this country was education. And if education, and I'm sitting here today because of the education I received. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't be here. And when it comes to that, if you combine that education with the right mindset, it didn't matter the way you looked, the accent you spoke with, the food you ate. I was in Houston for 25 years, and my advisory board was largely energy companies and CEOs. They looked different, they spoke different, they ate steak and potatoes, I ate vegan food. But none of that mattered because we talked about getting to a goal. And so what I learned through that process was any doubts I had were in my mind. And everyone respected you for the work you did and the outcomes that work resulted in. And that's the mindset that allows me to stay focused is I need to achieve goals for this institution that I serve. And if I do that, nothing else matters.
Yeah. You mentioned Houston, the University of Houston, where you're at for many years, at the University of Missouri as well. What attracted you to this opportunity to become the inaugural chancellor, the very first chancellor of a brand new university?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is the public nature of this institution is appealing. I've always been in public institutions. Again, it's that mindset that I serve the public, the community. So that was really important to me. It was also a role that I had. It was, if you think about progression, it was the next step in my career. It was also the right time for me, as well as the appeal of maybe starting something that was relatively new. Now, I don't want to say IU Indianapolis is totally new, but some of the rebranding, as you mentioned, the refocusing that we're doing is happening, and the ability to sort of be a part of that conversation. The other factors, of course, were President Witten's leadership, what I saw in her, the ability to work with her and her cabinet, as well as my interactions when I came here, the people on this campus. I can tell you, having been in academia for 33 years now, our people here, our faculty and our staff, are truly remarkable individuals. They're academics, but they care deeply about the communities they serve. And to me, that meant a lot. So anyway, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Final question for you, kind of looking at the crystal ball, if you will. 5 years from now, what headline do you hope to read about IU Indianapolis? What do you think the university will be doing in terms of making news, making headlines 5 years down the road?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would like to see us as, positioned as a place where research happens with a heart. Okay. And what I mean by that is we're very focused on research, on industry, on partnerships, on jobs, on careers. No question about that. And even we're not doing it just because, there is a whole focus on that nationally. It's the right thing to do. At the same time, though, we are also doing things with our general education curriculum. We're reimagining that so that we graduate not just good leaders for our industry, not just business leaders and industry leaders, but we also graduate good citizens for our democracy. And so the combination of those two factors is really what I think we will be known for. 5 years from now, it'll be as if you hire an IU Indianapolis graduate and you can be sure that they will make the right decision for your organization, whatever that is, whether it's bioscience, life science, sports, real estate, attorneys. It should be, it doesn't matter. We graduate leaders who make good decisions, not just for themselves, but for the communities they serve.
Dr. Latha Ramchand, inaugural Chancellor at Indiana University, Indianapolis. It's been a great opportunity here to catch up with you. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate you taking the time. And thanks for all you do, because you have an important role. IU Indianapolis has an important place in the future of Indianapolis and the future of our state as well. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you to IBJA and to all your listeners for supporting us and for this opportunity to speak with you. Thank you.
All right. I look forward to seeing you soon. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. We are a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, academic, communities, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to insights.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.